it's Silent will typically run the Vigil, but I mean, literally anyone on this roster is willing to pick him up because he's fun and he's good, and he's got not only does he have the K1A and the SMG-12, which are both solid weapons, but you still can't convince me that the Boss G didn't get shadow buffed, because it's insane. You get one-shotted from like across the map and there's nothing you can do about it. But speaking of, again, interesting operator picks, so we're down on Garage, everything looking a bit normal until you look at Silent. Caveira, an operator that he also ran, I believe, once in EWC quals. I think he didn't get an interrogation, I'm pretty sure. I think he got a kill. So yeah, I guess it worked to an extent. We also got Eddie on the pulse. Similarly to Canadian, Eddie was kind of like him of T2 for a while. He was really the only player that really consistently ran pulse in NAT2. So glad to see that's consistent there. Bliss rocking a pretty standard lineup with the exception of a dedicated hard breach. So I'm wondering if most of this push is maybe going to be coming from the archive side.
Might be a more top to bottom focus. Again, you've got roam clears such as the Deimos and Jackal. You've got two vertical operators of Buck and Ram. Buck bringing that secondary hard breach device as well, so they can at least get the hatch open if they want to. Not only that, but they have plenty of burn with the sentry available by Brenda. We talked about that operator numerous times, getting both flashes and grenades, or really whatever kind of secondary utility you want can make him kind of a jack of all trades. That just alleviates any weak spots you might have. But the pulse we had brought up earlier, Eddie introducing this operator into round number 1 for Consulate. He's already provided a lot of info that there seems to be some sort of admin overclear, but it's only by one attacker. If you can time this Nitro Cell correctly with that cardiac sensor, this could be an early opening kill for Luminosity.
Wi-Fi's getting ready. Just waiting for the call. It's Oda with the opening pick on to Kixro. The Legion dead very early, and his support dead too. Silent falls next. That's the Caveira down. Early two-man advantage here for LG. Eddie's still scanning, but now Wi-Fi being tracked by the Deimos is going to be forced downstairs, leaving his pulse alone, or at least forcing the pulse to back off as well. Those early two picks from Oda really paying dividends.
That was the person I wanted to highlight during the pre-show was Oda's success in finding those impactful kills, several 4Ks and 3Ks alike during their close qualifier run. This could be the moment for LG to spark back up. C4 narrowly missing, and there's that Inox scanner. Oda on the hunt. He's looking for more damage, and this might force Luminosity's extension back into the bomb site whilst there's still a 5v3 in a minute for Bliss.
Wi-Fi also forced back now by the Jackal. Well, remember, these are the kinds of situations that LG were in, that SSG continuously put them in over and over again, and yet they were still coming out on top. You can never count this team out, but Oda is looking to do just that as Eddie attempts to climb the spiral staircase and is shut down. 3 kills to open the map for the Jackal. A kill from below from Surf will put things in a little bit more doable situation, but Oda now with a quad all up against Wi-Fi, and it's an ace for the Jackal. Team Bliss take round 1 by storm, and Oda with all 5.
Incredible play from Oda throughout the entirety of that round. Plenty of info provided with the Inox scanners, working off of his teammates to create space and deal with the initial threat, because sure, Luminosity, they had the cardiac sensor, they had a little bit of info as to what Bliss were going for in that round, but being able to match and in fact beat the tempo that LG were trying to have during round number 1, I mean, Bliss just proved a point that they cannot be trampled on by a couple of loose roamers across the map. It'll need to be a full team effort by Luminosity if they want to win that entry game, or playing a little more passive, hoping that Bliss stall out via their own lack of time management. But so far, it seems like Bliss on Consulate have a very structured plan when it comes to clearing out this map to its entirety.
And it is one of the reasons why LG, against Space Station, found themselves in man deficit so often, is because kind of these extended roamers on their own little islands, isolated from the rest of their team. Sometimes they would get a kill, sometimes they would get picked off, and in this case, Bliss, with that huge opener from Oda, I mean, the perfect operators to counter that kind of play style are Jackal and Deimos. This time they'll drop the Jackal, figuring that You know, on piano, your roam is not going to be necessarily quite as extended as it would be on the basement. LG now opting for the Solus and the Fenrir, two operators who at one point were incredibly powerful. Now they're good. They've been brought back to earth just a little bit. But again, pay attention to Eddie, who's on that pulse, looking to hold downstairs along with Surf and do his best Canadian impression here.
Oda now off the Jackal onto the IQ. This could be a direct counter to the previously spotted pulse. But also Kixro now on Solus. It's a great operator for providing info, shutting down drones early on, which Bliss has lost about just half of their drone economy so far. Solus can also be used to stop a plant. Maybe Oda can counteract that by detecting where Solus is currently positioned and using that information to have his teammates hunt them down. Not only that, but Deimos still in the playing field for Wettables, having that shotgun, plenty of stop destruction, and the death mark trackers, which now locate Solus's position. They have an inkling as to how LG are trying to set up to stop that plant if it were to go down, as Bliss now, I believe officially, have cleared out this top floor and are looking to get vertical into the bomb site.
At the very least, the Solus is in a very passive position down those yellow stairs, and Eddie could very easily help cover for her. So Kixro not really in any danger. The danger for Bliss, however, is that they do have a full top clear, yes, which is very important, but do they have anything to stop these players, especially that Pulse and Solus, from having any say over how the execute goes from below? Bliss will likely have to dispatch at least one or two members to deal with them as the Pulse continues to scan away. It looked like Wettables is right outside the bomb site window, and Oda, who got the ace in the previous round, takes the first bit of damage, but it's silent with the first death. Fisho guy will fell him. It looks like there's no response from LG until Wi-Fi strikes. Brendo now dead. The Nomad is on the floor, but she's likely already used all her air jabs, and LG have lost silent C4.
Not a lot of utility to stop this plant either, but again, Eddie down below, still in garage. Two nades tossed out that'll force away Kixro. But close quarters with that shotgun could be very dangerous if Bliss are not expecting it, but they're doing such a great job of forcing out the Solus, making her uncomfortable. But there it is. Buckshot to the face, almost good for two, but Wettable shuts that down. But there's only 10 seconds left. Fisho guy clears out the last player in the bomb site, and they'll attempt to stick this plant. Pulse looking for the cardiac sensor, the C4 from down below. A readjustment once again, and it's far too late. The C4 goes off, but it doesn't connect onto a single soul, and Surf will be forced to retake it. A 1 versus 2. Wettables down the bench hallway will eliminate him before he finds any more damage. And now it's Eddie looking to hop outside, but Wettables yet again closes the round for his team, and that's Bliss, now good for 2.
Already a timeout from LG. You could see the miscommunication happening live on our screen with Eddie attempting to grab the C4 kill, but there were pings on that ram, John. They pinged her. So Eddie had to have known, or at least should have known, and should have had it communicated to him that the ram was moving and no longer on the C4 spot that he had planned for initially. But after she moved and after the ping, Eddie had thrown it up anyway. And that C4, that missed C4 right there, could have very well lost them the round. Plus, it looked like the holes were not opened all the way in the top of the wall to allow for that C4 to accurately and easily go down. Obviously, it was still doable, but just not quite as easy. And then having to retake there, very difficult, especially against the Deimos and how powerful that revolver is. I believe that was 3 kills for Wettables in that round, getting the first on the stairs and then the last 2. Great attempt from, I believe that was Kixro on the Solus with the shotgun, almost able to shut down Wettables, and that could have also been the round win for LG. But now taking the timeout, Vivid having a chance to talk with the team and probably try to amend those communication issues that we just saw.
Yeah, that was one issue Bliss had during their closed qualifier run, was a lack of real trade presence in the final couple of games they played on both Nighthaven Labs and Border, I think it was. But in this case, Wettables did a phenomenal job of trading out every single one of his teammates, keeping that man advantage alive, and keeping the site presence secure. Again, once you had lost that Nitrocell and cardiac sensor combination, it was a pretty easy cakewalk there for Bliss just to sit in sight and wait for the retake because they knew both Surf and the Pulse were down below, and holding that long hallway with a revolver, a simple two-shot punches them down. So for Bliss, not only do they have a strong entry presence so far in this game, but they're doing a great job of trading in those dire 30 seconds, where for a moment it looked like Bliss might have struggled to get into the bomb site, but they just managed to scrape through because of those trades.
And thanks to all those flashes, too. We saw them playing the Buck and the Deimos flashes and the nades to try and force that Solos back to allow them into the building in the first place. We have an admin side extension from one player on LG. It's Kixro on the Sentry. He's got C4 in pocket that he could possibly use on the window. Eddie with close support should he need to rotate over, but it looks like Bliss are pretty focused on the console repel and the typical push that we see. One Goyo pack already being burned, I believe, by a zero cam from Wettables or one of those Rotero drones from Brendo. Either or works. It looks like they've got a free drone in sight too. LG doesn't see this, and that's in the A site, so they can see if anyone's attempting to try and stop this plant from afar.
Now again, unlike last game, Grim is in play. He can create a lot of space with those nano swarms and provide info. On top of that, there's Argus cams as well, wielded by Wettables. So you mentioned the drone that snuck its way into the bomb site. On top of that, you have two other operators who can cycle plenty of info for their teams. And now they almost had a cutoff angle by the single wall, but looks like Wettables is trying to dodge that mute jammer. The second attempt on that hard breach canister will do the trick just fine. And now LG have to be a little more aware of this meeting presence, and they cannot just solo focus on this window plan.
Kixro, the player over by admin, gets the first pick, a follow-up from Silent, but two in response from Bliss. One of them from Wettables, who was able to just vault in through that breach, the catering breach, and get a kill. Wi-Fi caught with a smoke in his hand, and now Kixro just at 20 HP. He's dead, and Bliss have come alive, winning the round and going up 3-0.
Despite the timeout, despite the small reset attempted by Luminosity, they were only able to at least slow down the initial attack. Again, Bliss's trades have been their saving grace so far in these past couple of rounds, and everyone responded there at the exact same time. You had the cutoff angle by the window repel near Khan. You had Wettables getting active in the building. You had Fisho Guy right behind him as well. Everybody right now is doing their job and performing, so even if they lose that entry, Luminosity are not able to just comfortably sit on the bomb site and have their utility to stop that plant. Not only that, but a side note, because of all that extra information they had in the round, despite their teammates dying early on, like Oda, for example, on that opening death, he can still communicate to his teammates where Luminosity are playing at and if they're susceptible to any angles Bliss can wield outside whilst they're still trying to get into the building, which saved them quite a lot of hassle that they could have had by maybe losing out on a couple of extra bodies and having things in a 4 versus 2, for example.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
Still can't believe Wettables was able to just jump through the breach, get a kill, and jump back out.
Yep. That was inspiring.
That was pure bravery.
Yep.
And once again, we have the Jackal Deimos combo, a fierce combination from Bliss. We saw Oda get the ace here round 1. They've got the Glaz to boot, and smokes from the Ram. So we could be looking at just a direct, but they do have players upstairs dedicated to trying to clear out Kixro. That's going to be Oda's main job, probably while the rest of the team clears out the other side of the map. Initial C4 attempt does miss. Now Kixro has been targeted, and he's going to have to back off. He does get sporadic info on the Deimos' position as well, but of course the advantage is always going to go to Wettables here. But Silent instead with the opening pick on Brendo, and that Glaz, my favorite operator, is dead first.
That's a lie. Your favorite operator is Grim. You cannot be telling the stream this kind of false information. Oh! Kixro just brazenly peeks Fisho Guy, and that's the Ram eliminated. Buck hopping in, caught by a goo mine. Silent will capitalize off that information. And all of a sudden, Luminosity, they seem to be re-emerging from the ashes, seem to be rising up a little bit. Inox Scanner goes off, that'll detect Legion. They realize that this top floor is now forfeit, but caught in 2 goo mines. That will prolong his clear by a couple of extra seconds. And with that info, Surf will pop a gas canister The Jackal is stuck. Oda has to play the waiting game here as all of Luminosity has now fallen back down below except one player inside of Closet holding onto the diffuser outside the map, and Bliss are trying to rotate to secure it, I think.
I mean, Oda just took 21 damage from goo mines. They might be
Yeah,
giving
that
up
was
on it
insane.
here. Whatables looks like he just wants to try and walk into the site. The drone upstairs is so far afield, he'll waste so much time trying to get that back. Kicksrow attempting to watch his back. Here comes the Jackal, and Oda's not gun up, giving Kicksrow the kill. Whatables now in a 1 versus 5 as LG have made a beautiful adaptation to the way Bliss was playing. Finding out that a lot of these trades from Bliss were not happening by re-swinging angles, but by that kind of constrictor playstyle we see from a lot of teams pressuring different points at once and catching the defenders' backs instead of re-swinging the same angle. So what do LG do? They figure Bliss are going to try and do the same thing again. While they do all push at the same time, they tend to push in different places. LG got a lot more active and started to meet Bliss as they entered the building, and it paid dividends. Now 4 players left to find for Whatables, only 15 seconds to do so. Gas canister finally gets burnt. The shotgun close does not work for the kill, but Silent luckily has the immediate refrag, and LG are on the board.
Yeah, you made a great point, Harrison, of Luminosity realizing, okay, Bliss, they're playing together in a phenomenal way, but why and how? That's mainly off the back of taking their time and setting up in the first minute to minute and a half to then be able to push in to one position or 2 positions on the map at the same time. And again, that requires a lot of setup and a lot of time. So beating Bliss to the punchline on that, LG play aggressive. They play in the faces of Bliss and try to take those 1v1 gunfights so Bliss are physically unable to play that trade game, and that nets them 3 different kills on the roam and flatlines Bliss's attack before they even had a chance of droning the basement floor and the rest of the first floor as well, since Kicksrow, I believe, was the player who was still up there holding that diffuser outside the closet window. So that was a phenomenal adaptation by Luminosity, just to prove a point that although they've lost 3 rounds in a row, they are still very much so alive in this competition, and they want to keep things close against Bliss. Oddly enough, similar to Dark Zero versus GK2, just different sides now.
Yeah, definitely still in this game.
Objective is to defuse a bomb.
We actually look back to their game against SSG on this map. They went 4-2 on their defense and then 3-3 on the attack. So while the best they can get here now is 3-3 on the defense, they are certainly no slouches on the other side, despite how defensively skewed this map tends to be.
Bliss hoping to alleviate the problem of not having anyone close enough to trade. They've got a cutoff angle established by Fisho Guy on the ram, allowing Oda to hop in, realizing no one here is playing close. And that cutoff angle works! Perfect situational awareness by Bliss, and the idea of Luminosity beating Bliss to the punchline does not work out in round number 5, as Bliss already have admin control and a man advantage, but Eddie so far is refusing to give up this position by Projector, and Surf is just ahead of him, playing behind the shield, waiting for Bliss to try to challenge him.
This is the fastest that Bliss have been, even in the building so far this map. Off the back of that cutoff, and Surf forced away by the nade and the 2-piece from Oda. Unsuccessful trade attempt from the smoke. Silent and Eddie find themselves now in a 2 versus 5. Eddie with 1, looking for another, turns away at the wrong moment, and Oda is good for 3. Silent alone in the 1 versus 4.
Tough spot to be in here for sure by Silent. There's still a minute 20 as well, Harrison. This is like the worst place you could be on Earth. Bliss have well over a minute to gather info. You find a nice 1-for-1, but again, that directly tells the rest of Blitz where you are. You're playing yellow stairs. The bomb site is up for grabs, and if you're a little faster here, you hold that cutoff, and that's what Fish is doing up above on the vertical. He eliminates the last person standing by LG, and a well-needed adjustment there was instantly nabbed by Bliss, playing together early on in that round to stop LG's forward aggression. And one thing our observer highlighted really well, on top of that too, was the lack of utility to really assist Surf playing there. So because Eddie was inside a projector, not able to directly hold a line of sight to assist the Warden, all it took was one grenade to
Attackers
clear him
need
out
to
and someone
locate and
swinging
defuse
off
as
that
many bombs as
explosion.
they can.
So again, Bliss, fantastic job with their situational awareness, not only expecting LG to play aggressive, but acknowledging what weak points they have in their extension and who they can isolate.
And you know why they didn't have any utility on that shield? Because Kixro
Why
was
is that?
Wamai. He was supposed to be the one to protect that shield, but he ended up dying early. If you're going to have someone play an aggressive position like that, where you know Team Bliss are going to want to push, you cannot have it be your Wamai, especially when we've seen Team Bliss
10
use
seconds
their
left.
throwables with incredible proficiency.
5
Their
seconds left
throwable
before
usage has
insertion.
been incredible. You need that Wamai to stay up. Why would you not place
Attackers
the
objective is to
castle or the
locate a
mute,
bomb
someone
and
who's already used their utility in an active position like that, and have Kixro play passive? Instead, they did the opposite, and like you said, nothing to protect that shield because Wamai got maybe one disc down at that point, or two. And if they were down, they certainly weren't there to help protect that shield. Now, we go back to the top floor once again for Luminosity. They're 0 for 1 on this bomb site. Once again, we have the Grim and the Zero coming through for Bliss. They're looking to start with this top floor clear again. Starting with admin side, Luminosity, it's up to them to not get killed by the same cutoff that they've been, and it's Silent instead to try and turn the story around, surf with the follow-up on the Sage, and that's 2 early picks both on flank watch operators.
Tough spot here for Bliss. Run out attempted by Silent. Seems only to be a bait just to scare away Wettables. He's already on top of that rappel safely behind that hard wall as he opens it up with a pocket breach. And a much better start for LG, a well-needed one at that too, since you mentioned their previous scoreline on Consulate was 2-4 against them whilst defending. So if they can secure this round, since they already have that man advantage, they should be looking a little more comfortable and maybe even confident when playing these next few rounds. And they're surfed by the vending machine, scoring at least 1 kill. That 1-for-1 trade is all you need playing in a def spot by LG, because you already have that man advantage and you dwindled away some of the last sets of nano swarms that Fisho guy has. That was his last set of Bs, and there's no more Argus cameras. So although you have a lot of time to kill here for Bliss, LG, they are way better off in terms of utility and manpower.
Especially being able to go 1-for-1 with Oda, who's been so dangerous for Bliss, but that's certainly not to say the other two aren't good as well. But Eddie with the shotgun to take down both Wettables and Fisho guy on this small angle on the footholds. LG at least recover 2 points in the half, but is it too little too late? Now they work onto their attack where they went 3-3 against SSG, and an even split here will lose them the map.
It's a close call. Put themselves into now. 3-3 half would have been a lot more comfortable against Bliss, who really came out of the gate swinging in this first half. 3 rounds in a row and starting the match with an
Attackers
ace
need
by
to locate
Oda
and
and a
defuse as
3K
many
from
bombs as
Wettables.
they can.
I mean, that's impressive. No other way to slice it. We'll go to meeting room starting out here for Bliss's defense. Plenty of utility emphasized here. Info with the goo mines, some bulletproof cameras to boot as well, and stall potential with those toxic babes and Goyo Vulcan canisters. Whereas LG, they also have plenty of utility for themselves, plus information. A lot of space making here too, with both the Capitao and Grim. Maybe we'll see an admin take by them. That wouldn't be too shocking overall. And instead of having the Buck, they'll introduce the
10 seconds
Sentry
left.
into play. Actually, the Striker, I believe, is into play. The Sentry is on defense, my
seconds to go.
mistake. And that's probably just extra utility for that shield and vending that we've seen destroyed
Attackers
so
are
many
moving
times
out
now
to
by Blitz
locate a
once they
bomb
were
and defuse
attacking.
it.
Luminosity seem also very interested in an admin overtake. It's been pretty popular on this map. You get a lot of control for not a whole lot of work. It's kind of like how Solar used to be on Chalet until people figured out how to defend it. Bliss do have, it looks like 1 player admin side right now. I'm sure there's someone placed pretty close by so that they can support him, but for now, it looks like there was only 1 player directly protecting admin. It's the Mute, who's actually in cafeteria. He's very forward here. Lots of windows he's going to have to worry about if he wants to fall back.
I think waiting for a sound cue, someone's hopping in from the rappel, so he throws a C4 over the wall. Not a bad play whatsoever. The flash being tossed away. Deathmark track not going to connect because someone is standing on top of the mute jammer that will deny the info for Luminosity. There's that C4 we were hinting at, but it's going to be a dud, not connecting on anyone clearing out this admin side of the map. And at this point, Luminosity are pretty sure that Oda is still inside this box position. They've opened up the single wall now as a cutoff towards the bomb site, but there's actually an assist here by Brendo watching this doorway, tags a bit of damage, and maybe distracting the offense from thinking if Oda's still here, and that secures the opener for Bliss. Oda dashes away, but LG's planting the diffuser inside of Council. The Vulcan pack will detonate at just the right time, and Eddie got concerned. He was worried he would die there and get off the plant. That allows Bliss to readjust, and now they're up by 2.
And then in that exposed baguette position we talked about last map, Silent dies. Kixer finally gets a kill for his team, but Eddie is getting the time bled out of him. Venables finishes him with a C4, and Bliss with a dominant round number 7. Eddie's so close to getting the plant down. I think it was a 50-50 shot whether or not he would have been able to get it or not. But being forced out, and then LG operating off of a man deficit, feeling as if they had to get active. Bliss just had everything covered there, shutting down the admin push and denying the plant. Now up by 3 rounds.
All the right tools for the job. The back wall could not be opened up, so Oda could comfortably sit just by admin. He gets that first opening kill onto Surf, a lot of utility down the drain. And as LG try to readjust, again, there's more utility there to greet them. Those Vulcan packs forcing Eddie off the plant. Nitro cell going off, so once he hops back in, he is immediately blown up. The rest of Blitz as well, just making sure if anyone tries to creep up yellow, they can shut that down too. This has been an incredible showing by them, and they seem very comfortable against Luminosity here on Consulate. And another thing to mention, Harrison, LG are out of timeout, so all the momentum Bliss now gain, there isn't really much LG can do about it except just hope for the best and that they can learn enough on the spot to maybe when the bomb site's reintroduced, they have a better job of counteracting it.
Yeah, that timeout again was really, really early. Typically, we don't see teams do that until later in the half for this very reason. They're not going to be able to stop any momentum from Bliss should they take a second round in a row here. LG now with Dokkaebi, Jackal, and Lion. Tons of very oppressive operators. I mean, you can even count Grim in that camp. Looking to push on the piano. No hard breach though, so this is going to be probably completely be coming from upstairs, yellow side through that doorway. None of it from main lobby, where a lot of times teams will open that wall because it's such an important cutoff.
Single wall opened up once again. Surf expecting the aggression there. Oda at least having all of his utility placed throughout the round. It's just a body that's being taken off the board. But the Logi bombs and line scanners going off as well provide sufficient coverage here for LG to creep their way above. Pixar just waiting now for someone to peek him through this double door, even the hallway he's currently guarding over. This man advantage 2 being extremely helpful now, making Bliss a little uneasy with all this info being thrown at them. Might not be expecting this engagement. The Frost surely was, but Sage cannot win that confrontation. Now up by 2 here. Luminosity still clearing out this top floor, and as Fisho Guy tries to re-aggress, he is annihilated by Kixro. Silent catches Wettables off screen. That leaves only Brendo now, and off that drone, his position is well known.
Whole minute 20 for LG to play with. Wi-Fi loses the fight. Now 1-6, not having a great game, but Silent is there to finish the round, and LG will stave off match point, at least for now. Again, a much better round, but a little bit of over-aggression at the beginning from Oda, just staring out staring out the open double door as maybe trying to run out on the guy on the rappel, but early opening pick for LG, and then of course Kixro being able to sneak his way up, and Sage some crucial missed shots there on the Frost. Now 2-round deficit for LG to work themselves out of, but Bliss, I'm sure, again, with the lead that they had, probably not sweating that round too much. GG, go next, we'll go down to the basement. They got that Tuberow and the Cade to help lock down that wall, and most importantly, John, they're now bringing a Clash, and LG are going to need to bring, most likely, some sort of dedicated utility to deal with her because she is so oppressive on the garage where these wide, not necessarily wide, but long, narrow hallways that a Clash can just sit and hold
10
down.
seconds to go.
Definitely benefit for something like a Capitao or a Zoe
5
here.
seconds to insertion.
Luminosity instead just sticking to a pretty stock standard lineup. Maybe looking to deal with her off of the vert instead.
It's not a bad idea. However, it could be a bit of a challenge if they're not able to have a proper roam clear in this round. If they're not able to get that vertical or at least detect where the Clash is playing at, this could be a pretty open environment for Fisho Guy rather than it be the other way around. Early Logi Bomb, maybe just to allow this clear above via the drones to be a bit faster if they don't hear any audible calls through that Dokkaebi gadget. That could allow them just to put their drones a floor lower and not worry so much about this admin side of the map, about this council side of the map, and that seems to be the case. Like you mentioned, stock standard lineup here by LG. They've got plenty of info to flush out potential roam threats and buck for the vertical. So in this case, the Nitro cells here by both the Tuber Alcade and even Warden by Oda once again, someone we've highlighted now numerous times, they'll be the key factors to try to eliminate people going above and getting these cutoff angles. One thing to note as well, the Tuber Zoto canister, if that's thrown at the right time, that can not only stop the hatch of the wall from being opened up, but also slow somebody down to make them more susceptible to a siege.
This is kind of a crazy play from Kickstarter. You see that? He just started walking down yellow, trying to find an early pick.
Yeah, not a care in the world.
Wall does get open, so the Electro Claw dealt with from the vert. No two-brow canister to speak of. Wi-Fi doing a lot of really good work upstairs here above the site. Not able to find a pick just yet, but is doing his job and forcing these players back. And because the wall is left closed, the Thermite doesn't have to go directly on the hatch. It can go behind, and now you both open up a different angle to watch through because the wall is open, but that Cade Claw, pretty useless there. Now the Clash comes into play. Wi-Fi can just barely see the leg, gets a bullet down onto the leg, but that's all he'll get. So the shield is still able to persist now. With a minute left, LG are going to need a quick solution to deal with her.
Don't have a lot going for them. Maybe some flashes just to blind her, but that's the best they can do right now. Speaking of those flashes being tossed above, hoping they can just catch somebody by surprise. Final Dokkaebi call in play for LG as they're looking to hit the go button, but Thermite barrels his way in, and the Clash shield is what finishes him off. These long and deadly angles through the horizontal playing field by Bliss are enough to halt Luminosity's execute.
LG not expecting the long angles, I guess. Down by, I believe, initially one of the DMRs from either Brendo and Sage and finished by the Clash. Another drop comes through, this time from Wi-Fi. So many angles to try and look at. Looking for the Cade, but can't spot him. Weddable's now on for 3, looking for a 4th. He'll nab it. Surf is the only one left. Shuts down the Cade from above, but Fisho Guy drops the shield to finish the round. And Bliss are on match point.
Off the back of just, I wouldn't say punishing LG, but yeah, it seems just about that. We talked about right tools for the job by Bliss whilst they've been defending, and they've continued to bring these very annoying operators that halt Luminosity's plan A. And again, that's one of the big problems with a team that doesn't have a lot of international experience, is not expecting something that is just kind of out of your typical playbook, right? You rarely see a Clash in play altogether, let alone on such a clunky map like Consulate. So having her in play, that not only provided a lot of info for Bliss to work off of any potential picks, but also it stopped the main plan by LG, which was to get their Thermite inside the map through that open breach and to plant the diffuser, forcing a post plant. Because they killed that Thermite, that forced everyone by LG that was holding vertical for the post plant to then drop down below and face these really taxing angles that Bliss were holding across the basement floor. So altogether, Bliss with their just initial utility emphasis by one operator just led to this beautiful domino effect that Luminosity could not stop from falling down.
And I really like the switch up now from Bliss. Going to a site that is not often played in servers tellers and giving Bliss, or giving LG a completely different look in terms of play style. All 3 defenses they've played so far leaning very heavily into utility and stall, right? On round 7, their first defense, they had Goyo, Smoke, Legion, Mute, all this stuff to delay. Round 9, or round 8, they had, again, Legion, Castle, Frost, Mute, more delay utility. Look at what they just brought. They brought a Clash. They had Tuber Arcade combo. Now they are full going in with utility. Mira and Pulse in combination with the Banshees. You can even get info from that Capcan trap too. Tons of info at Bliss's disposal. They'll likely be playing the round a lot more aggressively too here. It's probably something that LG are not used to.
Logi Bomb going off. The single wall opened up as well, leading down that hallway. Seems like there's a drop here by the Zofia, but Sage is waiting with a C4 at his disposal. Blows up the Zofia. That's a man advantage once again for Team Bliss as they are just waiting for LG to enter the building. They've got positions by bench looking down that yellow hallway, expecting this aggression, and there's no one here to help out Kicksrow. He's walking in blind, defenseless to Brendo's rifle. And Luminosity with a shield in use as well. They only have 2 active guns, and quite frankly, not a lot to really make space against these mirror windows and even Banshees plus Capcan traps too.
You can see how much time it takes to clear these Capcan traps too. You gotta stare at each side of the door frame before you know it's clear to move in. Banshee's stopping this blitz as well. He's forced to use the smokes just to try and get in the room. C4 comes out. I don't know where it went. It sounds like it may have missed. I don't hear it. Wi-Fi with the kill on the Brendo. Silent the follow-up, though. Now we're in a 3-on-3. Fisho guy, though, gonna amend that. Taking out Wi-Fi on the spiral stairs. It's all up to the Ash and the Blitz, and a 2 versus 3. 1 C4 out. Only does about 40 damage, so Eddie's still alive and still strong. 50 seconds for LG to make their move. Capcan, at least on the site door, is now dealt with. But remember, the Pulse is still alive, and he's downstairs. He'll be able to call out the info and very easily deny this plant. Eddie quickly deals with the Capcan trap, but Fisho deals with Silent. And the Blitz is now stuck in the clutch, staring down multiple players. The shield is designed for 1 versus 1s. Now getting shot in the back. It's the C4 from below to finally do him in. And Team Bliss with a 7-3 victory. They shut down LG, deny the newcomers of their first international victory, and have a dominant start to this Esports World Cup.
Bliss as well, really firing on all cylinders. Even